He was born into royalty, the crown prince, of whom big things were expected. Big things. In the thoroughbred world, this little foal's birth was considered a miracle. His mother, Genuine Risk, won the 1980 Kentucky Derby.
They're in the final furlong. It's Genuine Risk. It beats Genuine. Here comes Bronco on the outside. Genuine Risk is going to win it. Genuine Risk by one.
Then Genuine Risk spent the next dozen years trying to produce a royal heir before Genuine Reward came along. Only 3 fillies have won the Derby in the last 100 years, so this offspring was a rarity indeed.
There's a lot of pressure as far as, you know, what he's going to be and everything like that. But to me, you try not to apply that to the horse.
Obviously, you can tell he's immature as any youngster would be at this stage of the game, but...
That's the boss, Genuine Reward's trainer, Bill Mott. It was January of 1995. Genuine Reward had just become one of Mott's pupils. He was barely 2 years old and still the only child of a Kentucky Derby winner. Talk about pressure.
He was an individual that wasn't meant to race as a 2-year-old. He had a lot of problems, that what we consider baby problems and maturity problems.
What if Genuine Reward doesn't have it? What if Genuine Risk's baby turns out to be more risk than reward?
Hello, how are
Will
you?
Bill Mott fold under the pressure? Not a chance. Because this is the same Bill Mott who has just been named Trainer of the Year for his precision handling of a Horse of the Year, a superb runner named Cigar.
And here he is, the unconquerable, invincible, unbeatable Cigar!
Cigar had come to Mott as a horse with a lot of promise, but little production, running mostly on grass, not dirt.
The process that you go through with training a lot of these horses takes an awful lot of time. Try the turf, try the dirt, try him short, try him long.
That patience paid off. Last year, after most of his contemporaries had already been shipped off to the breeding farm, 5-year-old Cigar started 10 times on the dirt and won every race.
Cigar explodes! Cigar opening up in mid-stretch. Cigar there by a length. Unaccounted for will make him work for it today. It's Cigar past the 16th pole, a length and a half lead. Unaccounted for, second best to the sensational Cigar. One of the great ones indeed.
I think our jaws dropped open the first time we saw him run on the dirt, and subsequently they've dropped open a time or two after that.
So how did this young, laid-back trainer from Mobridge, South Dakota gain all this horse sense? Maybe the often harsh plains winters of his youth taught him some lessons about endurance and survival.
That looks cold. I remember those tough winters and that wind blowing and the icy lake and river, and we'd have to, you know, jog and gallop a little bit through the snowbanks, which wasn't bad as long as the wind wasn't blowing. We didn't mind that, but when that wind gets to howling back there, it can be incredibly cold.
We've had more snow in this area, and we've had degrees down to 30 below zero, but we have never had it this cold, with the wind chill factor this morning reached 81 below.
That's Ray Gehring, a veteran horse trainer from Mobridge, who watched Billy Mott grow up and helped teach him the business.
This is where Billy come to take care of his horses when he first started racing. I don't know, I suppose sometimes he skipped school a little early just to come out and take care of his horses here.
Ray was always a stickler on, you know, making sure everything was done on time, that, you know, they were fed properly and that their stalls were cleaned. It seems like we cleaned stalls 7 times a day there. And
All the other help they ever hired, well, they'd skip a day or have an excuse, sore toe or something, you know, bothered them. They wouldn't come to work, where Billy just never missed a day.
He dressed up a little bit, huh? Yeah.
That's Bill Mott's brother, Rob Mott, reminiscing with Ray Gehring.
If I'd go home on the weekends and wanted things done right, I'd say, Bill, you take care of things while I'm gone. And I had people working for me that were 25, 30 years old, and he was 15, 16. He had his heart and soul in the horse business.
I guess maybe Billy did learn a little bit about the elements, and maybe that's why he isn't here. You know, he can sure run a horse a lot better where it's warm than when it's cold and it's tough on him.
Well, I started out at Fort Pierre and Aberdeen and Park Jefferson, all little racetracks in South Dakota. I never had any master plan. When I had myself and a pickup truck and 2 bags to throw in the back, I had no worries, and I galloped my own horses, I groomed my own horses, and I thought that's the way it was going to be.
And in some ways it still is. Bill Mott may train over 100 horses now, and his services may be very much in demand. But his attention to detail is no less than it was back in the old South Dakota days.
David, did you gallop him yesterday? You got a little steamed up, didn't you?
I believe that's why Billy gallops a lot of his own horses. You know, when you drive a car and you drive it 2-3 years, and if some little thing goes wrong, you know about it, you can feel it. And I think that's why Billy gallops a lot of his horses.
I always do remember that Ray definitely ran his horses in spots that they could win in. I mean, you try not to overmatch them. They always used to tell me that what you try to do in training horses is keep yourself in the best company possible and keep your horses in the worst company possible. At smaller tracks and with lesser horses and cheaper horses, I think you come up with many horses that have not only a variety of problems, but probably a variety of dispositions. When you get into your better caliber of racing, I think that you see a better disposition in the horses, just like Mr. Cigar right behind me. I mean, he's, you know, when he goes over there in the afternoon, he's got to be tough and he's got to be consistent. He's got a terrific disposition. He's very professional, and you generally see the same horse day in, day out.
But as the training becomes more rigorous leading up to a race, even the mighty Cigar can become a little testy.
Say, for instance, we had given him a fast workout today, or he was approaching a race and you had him wound up tighter and tighter and tighter. I probably wouldn't be standing in front of his stall like this, because he'd probably take a bite out of me.
And it probably wouldn't hurt nearly as much as the biting winds that blew across the plains winters of Mott's youth. Folks back in Mobridge, like Ray Gehring, just knew that young Billy Mott was made of the right stuff.
The wife and I often talked about it. If there's anybody going to make it in the game, we knew that the ambition he had and the interest in the racehorse game, that if he doesn't make it, it's not going to be his fault.
I don't think that when you start out, I don't know if anything could ever be as special as that first win and that first blanket. I don't know. I think I probably laid awake for 2 nights and didn't sleep just thinking about that. However, having Cigar is an awful big thrill, and even though I didn't think that either one of them could ever become a reality, they have. I was in the right place at the right time, right? You kind of snarled at that. I don't know what you thought about that.